Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins. Every night, I and my army of bots scour the internet for news and content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and every day you'll find me here to share the bits that I find interesting with you. That's right. I do all of this for you. It's a curated list of content. I go through around 200 submissions every night. I select just a handful of them for the next day's show. These are tools that I think are interesting, that I use, that I'd like to use. And today it's not just tools, today it's events. And in fact, I want to thank all of you who are watching this instead of watching the other thing that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, because that started in European time. But after this is over, I'm going to go over there and watch that too. Oh, Vita noticed we have two songs now. No, it's the waiting song, because, you know, it's the waiting song. We have stuff going on. So if you're watching live on Twitch or Twitter or wherever you're watching, click whatever button tells the thing that you like what you're doing. And wait, hang on a second. That didn't sound right at all. If you're watching the video, please click the thumbs up button and the like button and the follow and the whatever. But there's live chat that happens in Discord with a bot that restreams between whatever. So, yeah. Nuno knows what I'm talking about. Okay, well, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today, so I think I should say hi to people who are in the chat first. We have Nuno, good morning, Code All the Things. Steve, nice to see you here, sir. Vito, Captain Justin. Steve, again. Duck, good morning. Frank, Ian, Wifebot. And, yes, Code All the Things, hello. Wifebot does live on, sarcasm and what was the other thing you suggested? Coffee? Something like that? Sarcasm and scrolling windows of chat. There we go. That's all she needs. And occasionally a bowl of ramen noodles. Ian, hello. All right, great. So all of you are here, and that's wonderful. Because, oh, I'm not supposed to show that yet. I'm supposed to show this. But you know what? All right, let's show that, since it was on the screen. Where did it go? This started, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half ago. And it's not big enough for you to see what it is. Equinix? Oh, hold on, I gotta turn my heater off. Close my door, it's getting all roasty toasty in here. Equinix is having an event, and I love their theme. It's the Scary Software Circus. When in the cloud, no one can hear you scream. So they've got the Rabid Bunny. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to go to an event that's hosted by that? When you register, they have you choose a scary name for yourself. I am Dr. Demon Set, because that's the best I could come up with last night. Anyway, they have lots of cool stuff going on today. And it's just today, and it already started because it's taking place in Europe. So we got scary speakers. Yeah, so people are talking, things are happening, stuff is doing. So go check this out later today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, not later today, because it's already running, but don't leave here. Go after this, and I think it will be nice. And now I have to see what happened to my chat window, because all these other windows opened up and covered it. Close, 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 close. I don't know why I'm talking like this today. When you talk in a Halloween voice, it must be like this. All right. Kent, very funny. Good morning, Kent. Adrian turns off heater, global warming ceases. It's a really nice heater. It's really expensive to use because it's electric, but some mornings... Oh. Okay. Oh, slurp, slurp. Hello, microphone and the coffee. Another wonderful blog from our friends over at Sysdig on monitoring a component of your Kubernetes cluster that totally doesn't matter. Kubeproxy, it's like the single most useless thing that exists. Not really. It's actually kind of important. And their argument is that it just sits there in the background doing its thing, and if it goes down, well, your world sort of sucks. So probably you want to pay attention to it to detect degradations in service before they become an outage. I think I'm going to talk like this today. Everything will be very suspenseful. It apparently exposes a Prometheus endpoint that you can just scrape to get your data, and they recommend that you monitor the golden signals. Golden signals are the things to monitor that give you an idea of what's going on. So latency, requests, errors, and saturation. And then they continue to tell you how to do that. I love blog articles from Sysdig because they tell you how to solve the problem by yourself before they get to the part where they're like, oh, and actually we have a commercial product as well. If you'd like to use it, here's how you can use it too, but, no pressure. And I love that. I love it. I love that they're here to help the community before they're here to make money. But they also need to make money too. So check out their products because they're decent. And by decent, I don't mean like not excellent. I mean decent, like just check out their products. You know what I mean. Kin says Golden Signals is going to be my next album name. Okay, hold on a second. So I was talking last night with, oh, I'm going to totally butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Hitty Beitles from Weaveworks. And he made a reference to GOTK. And because I covered him with the Cron Jobber, I covered the Cron Jobber project. And he's like, oh, it's funny that my side project gets on and, not GOTK. And I was like, what's GOTK? If you Google GOTK, you don't get GitOps Toolkit. Thanks to Rockcode for schooling me. What you get instead is Glamour of the Kill, which is apparently some emo band. So I was like, really? Like, Cron Jobber is related to the Glamour of the Kill? I was like, I don't think you're talking about that. Anyway, GitOps Toolkit. There you go. So Kent, yeah, Golden Signals, next album name. Or do you have an emo band too? Let us know in the chat. Oh, yeah, we might have internet problems today. I'm streaming at a lower bitrate because the internet. I was able to confirm yesterday, stream quality good. Let's get that window up there. I was able to confirm yesterday that there was a problem with Intel's peering somewhere in this country, and the problem doesn't appear to be totally fixed. It's not totally down anymore. Normally I stream at 5 megabits per second, and today I'm streaming at like 3.5 because outbound bandwidth from the country seems to be like cut in half. I got my little dashboard up there. If it crashes, well, oh my God, Mac, welcome to the chat. Mac says too much peer pressure. Ba-dum-bum. Mac is our king of the one-liners. Localized framing, stack dump. Nice. Excuse generator. Slurp. That's the third music track of the show. Slurp. Puppet. I was talking smack about Puppet a little bit a while ago with the COTS product because the article was like Puppet, is going to use COTS for software delivery, and I fortunately had a conversation with the COTS team and discovered how they meant that. And the Puppet's doing a really good job of reinventing themselves. Companies that built themselves on infrastructure management and automation of physical or virtual machines are in a dangerous place because we're all saying that machines don't matter anymore. But Puppet is coming up with other products that do. So they just announced this a couple of days ago. It is a compliance automation framework that does compliance automation. So it will monitor all of your stuff, whatever your infrastructure is, whether it's physical machines or virtual machines or whatever, and will not only give you standardized reports for how things are configured, but make sure that things don't drift, and then do the things that Puppet does, which is enforce consistency. So if something does drift, it'll put it back in place where it needs to be. This embeds, what's it called? The CIS Cat Pro. So unlike normal, it's the CIS benchmarks from the Center for Internet Security. Unlike most benchmark products or things that embed benchmarks, they have to wait for CIS to release a new benchmark. But if you actually pay for CIS Cat Pro, then as soon as they have new benchmarks, they're automatically updated. Well, Puppet Comply embeds that. So that is fantastic for keeping your stuff up to date. Now, of course, this is a commercial product, but whatever. I started my automation journey with Puppet. I was a very, 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 very early user of Puppet, and then I dumped Puppet when I started to need like 15 machines to just run Puppet. Anyway, I moved to Ansible, and we all know that story. So this is cool. This is out, and it has a wonderful, wonderful headline. Puppet Comply will allow you to remediate compliance failures at scale. And don't we all want to do that? It's almost Halloween. I don't have anywhere to go trick-or-treating. So, yeah, here you go. And they also have a quote on here that I think is ridiculous from Gartner. By 2023, 60% of organizations and regulated verticals will have integrated compliance as code into their DevOps tool chains, improving their lead time by at least 20%. That means nothing. That's like straight Gartner mumble speak. But it sounds good, right? Oh yeah, who doesn't want to increase their lead time by at least 20%? I want that right now. Go buy that product, son. Moving on. Do you use anything from Fluent? FluentD, FluentBit, they are running a survey. They'd like feedback from the community. This is obviously free, but if you use or have ever used any of their products, I will have a link to this in all of the places where I put links. Please just go and fill it out and give them some information because they make really cool stuff. It seems like these days, so Kent said, what does that even mean? Nobody knows what it means. It's provocative. It gets the people going. And no worries about the paraphrasing. It's just more and more as I'm going through content, I see that like everybody has to have a quote from Gartner. Everybody's in some Gartner, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. Just make products that work. Like, just make products that work. Period. The end. Kubernetes horror stories. Who doesn't love these? This is a post sponsored by Thundra. I want to say Tundra because I think that sounds cool because Thundra, that's like He-Man and the Masters of the Cluster. This just gives some stories that are pretty funny about people who did things or made assumptions in their Kubernetes clusters and then their clusters fell apart. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of these online. Basically, you read any of these and it's like, don't make assumptions about your cluster. Or when something goes wrong, like don't roll things out. Even if it worked in a pre-production environment, that doesn't mean that it's going to work in a production environment. Like you can do everything right and stuff will still leave a mess on the floor. So expect that. And there was one in here, I don't remember which one it is, but where they were watching things go bad and they're like, oh, that's probably just Google. No, assume that your stuff is intentionally trying to murder you. I used to ride a motorcycle when I used to ever leave my house. And one of the best things that I learned in a motorcycle safety training course was to approach every single intersection looking for which car is going to kill me because one of them wants to. And the second coolest thing is if you ever do ride a motorcycle and you haven't been to one of those safety courses, you should go to one. But as you're approaching any vehicle, look at its tires because, you know, the danger, the cars turn in front of you, which is how I destroyed my foot and ankle. The tires will move first. That gives you the best lead. Oh, it gives you it increases your lead time by at least 20%, according to Gartner. Anyway, I don't ride a motorcycle now because I live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so Kubernetes horror stories because it's Halloween. Huzzah! Seeing that the post was sponsored by Thundra and the Masters of the Cluster, I went and looked at what Thundra does because I've never heard of them. And what have we learned about how Adrian approaches the universe? 100 times a day, Adrian's like, what the heck is that? Thundra. Let me zoom that in for y'all. Thundra, application observability and security for cloud-native microservices. Okay. Trusted by leading brands that I've never heard of. But okay, I'm sure they're leading brands somewhere. Once again, like, testimonials are cool, but just make products that work. They are an observability platform. And yeah, the end. But the reason I'm putting them on the show is because when we think of observability, like in Kubernetes, what do you immediately think of? You think of Prometheus and Grafana because they're open source, and that's great, and they're wonderful. And Grafana is actually coming out with a lot of really cool other stuff. However, they're not the only ship in the sea. Nautical reference. I'm on fire today. I'm like Mac. They are not the only ship in the sea, and therefore you should. Well, I will speak about myself in this situation. I like to keep my options open. I like to stay aware of what's going. I mean, that's the reason this show exists. So I found them, and they have a nice free tier, $0 a month forever, 250,000 monthly invocations of something. I don't know. I'm assuming that's metrics that you send to them because they're some kind of a SaaS platform. 7 days data retention, 3 users, 5 alert policies, and some community clack support. Clack! Community Slack support. That says, that's enough to go ahead and get started. Just understand that if you outgrow that, you're going to pay, 3 kidneys and a toe, which is what I pay for internet, which is why I was so mad yesterday when it wasn't working. I want my toe back. You can keep my kidneys. They never did me any good anyway. Was there actually a Thundera in He-Man? Am I like just did my little database of a brain just spit that out from childhood? Ian, do me a favor, actually Google that so that I don't get distracted here. Or Nuno, Google it and then distract me. Was there actually a Thundera? Okay. We have been having conversations about... hang on, I'm not going to show that yet. We've been having conversations about ingress controllers in the community site. And this has come up a couple of times, specifically, well, on the show I talk about ingress controllers a lot. And I just use them. I don't really look at their internals. But it has come up that it's possible that one of the Nginx ingress controllers will restart itself when it detects a configuration change. And I spoke to Manuel, who maintains the community Nginx ingress controller, and he said that that's not the case. And then whatever. So there was some conversation, and then it's to the point now where I want to step back from it because I no longer have anything that I can contribute because I'm not in the internals of these. But I believe that the organizations that have done their investigation and have decided that one is better or different than the other, employ smart people who've done their work. This came up as part of that conversation yesterday, and I was a little bit alarmed to see connection timeouts. So if you look at just this table, it's like, okay, Nginx open source, 309. So this is the open source one from Nginx, the company. And community one, 8,809. And Nginx Plus, of course, 0, because we want you to buy our stuff. Well, let's just ignore that. And I dug into this a little bit. Well, not dug in, but I read, which most of the time digging in consists of reading a paragraph. I dug in, and I wanted to understand what this 8,809 connection timeouts thing meant. Y'all can't see that because they're using like 6-point font. Don't they recognize, like, we all wear glasses now because we stare at computers all day. Uh-oh, I see GIFs coming up. Thundera is the homeworld of the Thunderians. I have the weirdest brain. Okay. Apparently, the community ingress controller uses Lua code to avoid configuration reloads when endpoints change. And they talk about how this happens. And it revealed to me that what I was thinking was just from the standpoint of you change the configuration and it doesn't need to restart anything to reload the configuration. But when an endpoint changes, like in a Kubernetes cluster, you've got pods coming and going and moving around and being restarted and stuff like that. That's probably really hard to do as a dynamic update. And I don't think that that's the fault of the community ingress controller. Basically, they show that 8,809 connection timeouts was related to the thing that it was talking to going away. And you rip the back end out of anything, it's gonna struggle. So I don't have anything else to contribute to this that's of significant value. I still think that the community ingress controller is fine. It does everything that I need it to do, but I'm not in an environment where I need some of the stuff that you're talking about here. But what I did find was this, and this is my final contribution. My final contribution is from Learn Kates. Can I zoom this in? Where they have put together a wonderful list of ingress controllers for Kubernetes and what features they do and don't have. Now, reloading on backends disappearing is not one of these items, but there are lots of other things in here. So you've got Kong, Traffic, HA Proxy, Istio Ingress, Contour, Voyager, Ambassador, Glue, and Skipper from Zalando. We'll talk about them in a minute. And all of these, comparisons and checkboxes and stuff like that. I throw this out for you, my lovely community, that you might solve your problems with the ingress. I don't know whose voice that was. Service mesh is still hard. Anybody not know that? It's already 8:51? I'm like barely halfway through. Service mesh is still hard. I still really want a service mesh, and I still really totally don't need one because it's going to be another thing that I'm going to have to maintain, and I don't have time to do it, and then it's going to break, and... Thank you, Nuno. 1 point for you. Yeah, it's going to break, and I'm not going to know what to do with it. But here's an article that, in reading this, gave me more things that I didn't even think about service mesh. Thing number one, lack of clear guidance on whether you need it. Yes, I know that. A lot of people that are like, oh, service mesh, that's a great thing. Let's just slap that in the cluster. And we're just slapping stuff in the cluster, and then it's like this weird octopus with shells wrapped around it that, no. But I did not know that your service may break immediately after a sidecar is injected, and that things like Zookeeper and who else? Cassandra, Elasticsearch, Redis, and Apache NiFi, I don't even know what that is, expect for their leader election, they expect to be able to directly communicate with things. But sidecars and service mesh require that localhost is the address that things listen on so that the proxy parts can do its thing. And that breaks their ability to communicate with one another. Who knew? Surprise! You deployed a service mesh and your whole company crashed. Your service may have odd behavior at start or stop time. That seems reasonably expectable? Okay, I'm done talking, apparently. That seems like that's not a surprise. You're screwing around with networking. Zero configuration, zero code change is not going to happen. Service owner needs to understand nuances of client and server side configuration. Yes, interesting here. So in a non-service mesh world, it's just something is talking to something. It's a one-to-one relationship. But in a service mesh world, you've got 3 different connections where something can go wrong. Source container to source sidecar to target sidecar, and target sidecar to target container. All sorts of nonsense can happen there. So unless you really, well, okay, I'm gonna talk about myself again. Unless I really times 10 need a service mesh, I'm probably just gonna continue to cry about the fact that I don't need one. Because, man, they're cool. Oh, we already talked about this. Go, after this, go look at the rabbit bunny. Michael says the lack of a sidecar makes Pixie really nice. Pixie's an observability platform, though, isn't it? Didn't we have them on the show last week? Yeah. Application debug, observability. Agreed that the lack of the sidecar will make that nice because that's one less thing that you have to troubleshoot in your observability stuff. I didn't know they didn't use sidecars. How do they? I'm going to have to go look at how they work now. Because they also, their whole big thing is you don't have to change any of your code. So if they're not using a sidecar to watch the traffic as it goes by, and you don't have to change your code, what are they using? Magic? Edge computing predictions for 2021, we will skip. This we will skip because it's happening next week. Actually, you know what? We won't skip this. Rancher does these things called rodeos, and Rancher has its own thing called Hobby Farm that they built that's like a Kata Coda scenario type hands-on environment. And since all of us started working from home and we're no longer allowed to hang out with one another, the rodeos have gone virtual. And in the beginning, the rodeos were virtual, but they were still tied to regions. And now, oh my gosh, that is the scariest photo. If you're watching this and you're not in the chat, like, you're missing out, because that's a whole universe unto itself. That's going to give me nightmares. The Rancher Rodeos, well, now anyone can join, and that's wonderful. If you are new in your Kubernetes journey, new in your Rancher journey, and you want some hands-on stuff that starts at 0 and gets you up and running with scenarios and real stuff, these are awesome. So this one's happening November 5th, but you can just go to rancher.com and look for events and sign up for one. They are great. I was going to talk about Forge Rock. I'll have to do that tomorrow. Okay, 2 things. Thing number 1. kubejanitor. kubejanitor will delete Kubernetes resources based on one of 2 conditions. A configured TTL, so this has been alive for X number of units, kill it. Or a configured expiration date. This has been alive and it is now time for it to die. That is almost a Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner. Time to die. So this will do it for you. It'll just come through your cluster and nuke the things that need to be nuked. Cool. I don't know necessarily why I would need that, but the best use case that they have here in the examples are to delete unused PVCs. Or you could use this to delete config maps, or you could use it to delete production workloads, because isn't that fun? Oh, thank you, Nuno, for the Cat in the Hat gif. That's also really scary. No. Okay. So this is cool. And like all cool things that end up on the show, after looking at it and being like, okay, I'll put that on the show, I move on to who created it, so that when the tweets go out later, I can give them a shout out. So I did my digging around. This is on, like, it's not on GitHub, and, you know, who is this individual? Well, this individual, shock surprise, is Henning Jacobs. And where does Henning Jacobs work? Senior Principal Software Engineer, well, Senior Principal Engineer at Zalando. And then when I found his Twitter handle, I realized that we've actually had his stuff on the show before, but from a totally different repo. So I don't know. Hey, K3S demo. Look at that. Yeah, he's making cool stuff for himself and for Zalando, and pretty much everything that I see that comes out of Zalando is like, wow, that's really cool. So hello, Zalando. Thank you for making cool stuff. And hello, Henning. Thanks for getting on the show again. Vito says the Zalando Postgres operator is awesome. Everything Zalando does is awesome. I don't know about their e-commerce stuff because I live in a place where e-commerce doesn't work. But they sell like handbags and shoes or something, right? But they have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of traffic. So good job, them. Now it is time for today's tool of the day. Oh, Steve got to go? Oh, no. Sorry, Steve. Well, real quick, tool of the day. Blocklist tools. What? That's not a Kubernetes thing. No, but we were talking about Blocky and Pi-hole, and all of us use uBlock Origin, and, well, not all of us, but some of us use these sites for, well, not sites, services for blocking ads. These pull from lists. Lists are community maintained. Community maintained lists sometimes have errors in them. For example, I got into a big thing with NextDNS recently about a list that I don't know, whatever. There was a list in their service that was blocking the download page from the Center for Internet Security. Like, I can't download CIS benchmarks because you're telling me that, like, I don't know how that got in there, but it was a mistake. Out of that conversation in that issue, somebody pointed to this. Before I show you what this is, I want to show you who this came from. This came from... Oh, actually, I can't show you because here they've hidden themselves. No public members. So Developer Dan, if you were to go to developerdan.com, Developer Dan has been involved in a whole bunch of pretty cool stuff. FOSCAM client. I have a bunch of FOSCAM IP cameras and various other things. and including contributions to Pi-hole, Bitwarden, Umatrix, filter lists, and some other stuff. So he's been around, and I liked that he was connected with Pi-hole. So what do you have here? If something is being blocked and you want to know what lists have it in their block list, you just put it in here, and it tells you in super small font. There you go. How's that? Yeah. There you go. Like, what's not to love? Double click. That's an easy one. Google Tag Manager. I'm not sure if that one's even in there. Oh, yeah, apparently it is. So it gives you information about when it was added, possibly when it was removed. And so you can look at this and you can say, oh, yeah, I use, this list or that list. And now you know which one to go and start a fight with. That's today's tool of the day, Blocklist Tools from Developer Dan. Thank you, Developer Dan. You are a true hero. That wasn't very Halloween-y. And that's it. That's it. Fortunately, I now have all of tomorrow's show done. Remember that tomorrow is Giveaway Friday. Giveaway Friday. The day before Halloween, we're going to give away Kubernetes Mastery Course from Brett Fisher. It's the last one of October. I did not run a poll for what we'll give away in November. I'll run that for next week. I don't want to run them for too long. If you'd like to participate in that, just come to the community site. And I didn't run the news crawler. Whatever. You know where the links are. Look in the video description and stuff like that. We all know what we're doing. I hope. Maybe not. If you liked what you saw today, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, join the community site, join Discord, come talk to me. Links to everything I talk about go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get links to the video and the video replay. Community members get the links and the video replay a day before the rest of the internet. So if you're watching this on the internet, this happened yesterday. But the community site is free, so come join, and you can have it happen today. If there's something you'd like for me to consider for the show, hit me up and let me know. I'm linked all over the place. You can just find me and ping me. I did have a conversation with Steve this morning. He pinged me on the community site. The community site doesn't make a sound. It goes, and I'm like, what the heck was that? I have 86 tabs open. So if you do ping me somewhere and make a recommendation, just make sure that I respond. That way, I don't want to miss stuff if you're coming along. Otherwise, find me. Discord, Twitter, I'm all over the place. Thank you so much for joining me for this 32-minute long episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. Y'all are awesome. Keep learning. I'll see you in the next show. Stay caffeinative.